Hi folks, welcome to this video on Schema Theory. So Schema Theory is one of the theories of learning. How we make effective decisions on pitch, on court, on track in terms of, if we're talking about sports examples. It was developed, or, a lot of the work was done by a scientist called Schmidt. So you'll sometimes see it come up with Schmidt Schema Theory. It sometimes helps to get a little bit of context. What is it all about? Before Schema Theory came around, before Schmidt developed this idea, a lot of the thinking was for every single movement you've got, you have to have a different motor program. So I have a motor program for walking, for running, for jogging, for sprinting, for catching, for throwing. But it was a little bit more specific than that. Let's look at these two pictures of Serena Williams as a bit of an example here. Before Schmidt proposed Schema Theory, the idea was that you stored a motor program for every single movement that you do. Now what we've got here is you've got Serena Williams doing two forehand shots, right? But they are both different forehand shots. As you can see here, she's catching the ball closer to her. She looks a little bit more balanced, okay? Whereas in this one here, she's having to reach out more. The arm is extended, the elbow is extended more. She's just trying to get that back over the net. So what the theory was that she would have a motor program for this particular forehand shot, and she would have a separate motor program for this particular forehand shot. Now that's fair enough. And if you think about the long-term memory, it's got infinite capacity, infinite storage. The issue is, it means for one shot, such as the forearm racket shot in tennis, you could have 100 or 200 different motor programs, because there are 100 or 200 different ways, different heights, different angles, different speeds you could play the shot at. And that makes it very, very difficult to recall the right motor program in sport when you've only got a fraction of a second to do it. So Schmidt thought, that's a little bit complicated. I think it's not as difficult as that. I think it's a little bit more straightforward. And this is what Schema Theory is based on. So if I move these pictures over here, what does Schema Theory say? Well, in a nutshell, it says that instead of having 200 different motor programs for different forehand racket shots, all tennis players only have one motor program for a forehand racket shot. What tennis players do, and what great tennis players do, is they adapt that motor program to suit their current needs. So Serena Williams is running the motor program for a forehand racket shot to hit that tennis ball over the net. She's using the exact same motor program here, but she, being the pro that she is, has adapted it to suit the current needs, stretching the arm out a little bit more, okay, leaning more at the waist in order to reach that ball. So Schmidt said, we don't have that many motor programs, we store general motor programs and we adapt them to suit our current needs. Now that's what Schema Theory is about. And what we're going to look at now are the 4 ways in which we essentially adapt the motor programs to meet our demands. And Schmidt said the first stage of schema is this thing known as initial conditions. Essentially, where am I? Okay? Where am I on court, on track, on pitch? That is the first thing I need to pick up on before I can figure out how to start adapting my motor program. So where am I? Initial conditions, that is the first stage of schema. The second stage of schema is then called response specification, so what is expected. So in this situation here, what Serena Williams has done in both situations is first figure out where am I on court, where is the ball. The response specification is what is expected, where do I now need to hit this ball back to give myself chance of winning the point. Okay, now here's the crucial thing. What do you do after these 2 phases? Well, what you do is you do the movement. So I'm leaving that in slightly bigger writing to emphasise that fact. So what's happened is, Serena Williams, where am I? What are my initial conditions? What is expected of me? She's then decided how she's going to adapt to the motor program, and then she's run it. Okay? So she's hit the ball. She's now struck the ball off the racket. As soon as that happens, she gets into the 3rd stage of schema. The 3rd stage is sensory consequences. How did it look and feel? So as soon as Serena Williams hits that ball, she's immediately getting feelings going down her arms, her wrists, her shoulders. How did that feel? Was it good contact? Was it bad contact? How does it look? Does it look to be going where I intend it to go? So she's gathering sensory consequences on how well she's adapted that motor program. And then finally there's the 4th stage. And the 4th stage is what we call the response outcome, i.e. did it work? Because the point is, why is this a theory of learning? When she's picked out where she is and what she needs to do, and then she adapts the motor program and runs it, as soon as she runs it and strikes the ball, how did it look and feel? Did it work? Did I get the end result? If she finds herself in the same situation again, she will adapt the motor program in the same way again. If it didn't work, she'll have to adapt it in a different way and see if that makes any improvement. And that's what the base of Schema is about, and it explains why pros still sometimes get it wrong, because they don't adapt to the motor program correctly. If you've got a motor program and how to do it perfectly, how come professionals still make mistakes? How come they under-hit passes, over-hit passes, knock it out the court, hit it into the net? It's because they don't adapt to the motor program effectively enough in the first time, because they haven't got enough time to do it. And, you know, they're not perfect. We're all human beings. So they are the 4 stages of Schema. Okay, so there's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. There's something else that we can call them. Okay, these 2 are what we call recall Schema. Okay, now why does it call recall? Because this takes place prior to movement. You do these 2 before you've adapted and run the motor program. Okay, these 2, in contrast to that, are called recognition Schema. Okay, and these 2 take place, as you'd expect, after the movement. You're recognising what's worked and what hasn't. Here, you might be recalling what you did last time. When I was last in this situation, what was expected of me? So I'm recalling what I did. Now I'm recognising, did it work? Okay, that's Schema theory.